Necessity is the mother of invention. Now this is an expression that I've grown up hearing many times. But now I invite you to think about it. What are your necessities? To me, it's water, healthcare, shelter, and perhaps my favorite of them all, food. My love for food started from when I was very young. In fact, it's all I ever think about. You know, an aunt came up to me and said, Samay, when you grow up, more than 18, what would you like to do with your life? And I said, I want to be involved in the culinary industry. I want to be a chef. And she couldn't help but laugh. When I asked her why, she said, 10 years ago, you said the exact same thing. And for me, that was a sign. This was my destiny. And now when I travel, instead of looking for local monuments and sights to see, I seek out the best restaurants. In fact, some of the best experiences I've had has been at these restaurants, where in fact, the best chefs in the world have married innovation and food to create some of the best dishes that I've ever had. This inspired me to no end, and this is the reason I'd like to talk to you today about my idea of innovation, my food truck of tomorrow. The food truck of tomorrow will take a very standard, simple food truck as its base. A food truck that is essentially a kitchen on wheels, whose aim is to serve the people that come to its window, but then elevate it to new heights. The food truck will be able to not only empower women, but be sustainable, be seasonal, create and serve excellent food, whilst formulating and creating communities of good in whichever community it finds itself in. Now, I find this extremely exciting, but it's important that when you tackle an idea like this, you be practical. And therefore, the best way to tackle this, in my mind, is through a business model standpoint. So the one I want to introduce today is something known as the triple bottom line. The triple bottom line is a theory that was coined very recently that states that all businesses, regardless of their size, industry, or aim, should work towards what are known as the 3 Ps of business. These are essentially what every business must strive for. These 3 Ps are profit, people, and the planet. And these are 3 things that I believe no business can do without. First, I'd like to go into profit. Simply put, this is a part of the equation that can't be removed. Therefore, the food truck of tomorrow will employ 2 mechanisms to ensure that whilst profitable, it'll adhere to its strict corporate social responsibility. Firstly, my food truck will have a locally sourced, seasonal, and sustainable menu. Now, seasonality is unbelievably important because most of the chefs have recognized that when a menu is seasonal, the best part is the ingredients are far cheaper because that's exactly what's growing nowadays. And what's better, everything in season tastes wonderful. To me, when something is locally sourced, it not only starts cumulative causation, which is where you support one business owner who can then spend their money and their profits to support others. And that not only creates a circular economy and helps a local economy, but ensures that on top of all of this, the environmental impact of bringing ingredients to the food truck and the holding facility is significantly lower. Secondly, I think that in order to be profitable, whilst caring about stakeholders, my food truck will employ what is known as a feed-it-forward philosophy. This is going off the idea of paying it forward, except with food. Now, picture this. You're in a circumstance where you see someone on the side of the road and you really want to help them. Something inside of you tells you that you have to do something for them. But I still remember that I was often told, money may not be the best option. Try and give them something that will help them. Try and give them food. And often, you may be in a rush. You may not have the time or the food itself to give them. Therefore, the food truck will employ a mechanism that allows you to buy 2 plates of food, say 2 slices of pizza. You can then eat one for yourself and leave the second in the form of a post-it note on the wall of the food truck. Now, what's amazing about this is anyone, regardless of their socioeconomic status, who or what they believe in, or how they're feeling on a particular day, can walk past the food truck, pick one of those post-its up, and redeem it for a prepaid meal. I emphasize prepaid because that allows the business to continue to sustain itself whilst also creating communities of good. And this has proven to be unbelievably successful in coffee shops and other pizzerias. The example that I love is a place called Rosa's Fresh Pizza in Philadelphia. And the part that gets me every time, and the part that whenever I read about it or whenever I hear about it that excites me, is that on the walls of the whole pizza shop, you can actually see post-it notes and thank you messages on them. People have often said that this is the only meal I've got all day. You are the reason I haven't gone hungry today, and you are the reason I'm happy. And just the thought that you can buy a slice of pizza for someone and make that difference is unbelievable. Now, I think that a food truck can utilize its mobility and add to this. Because imagine this, you live in an environment where, if you're fortunate enough, you and the people around you are in a very comfortable economic status. You buy 2 slices of pizza, leave one in the form of a post-it, and as the truck moves, it uses its mobility. You can actually help someone on the other side of the city without even knowing it. Again, that's what I think is magical, and that's something that I believe food has the power to do. Now, as I discuss people, I want to talk about the second P. Again, the people that can influence a business or who are influenced by the business. I've always believed that with hard work, determination, and willpower, I can do anything. Just like I believe every single person in this world has the ability to do. But what disappoints me is that in the culinary industry, an extremely male-dominated industry, I think it's unfair that women don't have the same opportunities. In fact, in a study of 15 of the largest restaurant groups in the US, only 6.3% of the head chef positions were acquired by women. Now picture this. You have the drive, you have the determination, and you have the skill. But if 100 positions are lined up in front of you, only 6 are yours. To me, that's completely unfair. I don't believe that that's justified, and I don't believe that the food truck of tomorrow should adhere to that. That's why I believe that my food truck, wherever possible, will maintain a stringent 50-50 policy to allow men and women, or individuals that identify as either of those genders, to be put into quotas to make sure that we create a culture where both genders are respected and both genders are given an equal opportunity. Now, it poses a very difficult question. What if a male candidate is better? What happens then? Or, similarly, what happens if a female candidate is better? But that's why I love the industry, because when an industry is vocation-based, if there's a small lapse in skill, you can fix that through training. No one comes into a restaurant fully equipped with the skills and knowledge. And as they understand the mechanisms of the food truck, they will be able to perform at a level that's necessary. We live in a society today where there are people who don't identify as either gender. There are people who are transgender, who are genderqueer, who are fluid with their gender or choose not to pick one. And I firmly believe that there should be no reason for prejudice. Again, therefore, I think and believe that my food truck will create a platform where if you identify as either any of those genders, there'll be no prejudice whatsoever in a hiring process. Food is an art. Food excites me. And I know that as someone who believes in living to eat, that I can't stop thinking about it. But just like food, there are many arts out there that can help create and enhance the experience. For example, artists. Now imagine this. Take a very simple, blandly designed food truck and paint onto it the community skyline. Let's take Singapore's. But through that, you can not only have a beautifully painted truck, you can support local talent. You can spur local talent and show them off to the world as the truck drives around the city. Second, musicians. Now, I know that food trucks tend to be the kind of place where you go for a quick meal. But what about redefining the experience? What about going to a food truck, maybe waiting in line for a bit, but having a local, almost unheard of musician playing in the background? And the best part, they can promote themselves. They can sell their CDs. But the benefit for food truck consumers is that they create a culture. You want to stay there longer. And it links back to the profit because you want to patron that food truck. And finally, the artists that I believe are most important, chefs. What if my food truck has the ability to feature local chefs? Now to add on to this, a group of people that is often forgotten are the suppliers, the people that allow a food truck to have and sell food. And for that reason, my food truck will try and create and maintain strong relationships with these suppliers to ensure that they not only receive maximum profitability, but there's security for them, especially in a market that's competitive and tends to work towards agro-industrialized businesses, those that are very large and often very difficult to compete with. Now finally, I'd like to talk to you about the planet, something that I believe is essential to all of us. I've described food as our necessity, but with the rates of anthropogenic change today, caring for the environment and stopping that is the Earth's necessity. The Sustainable Development Goals released by the UN state that sustainability encompasses poverty. It encompasses access to food and water, global partnerships, and water security. But what I would like to focus on for now is just the environmental aspect. Technology is changing so quickly, and a food truck actually requires two main things. It requires fuel to be mobile, and it requires energy to power its appliances. Therefore, the food truck of tomorrow will be able to integrate solar panel and solar paint technology to power itself during the day. But that's just half the day, especially in a place like Singapore, where you've got equal daylight and equal night hours. But picture this, as the food truck actually moves, as it creates movement when it's going from the place where it's set up to its parking bay, it's able to use the food waste it generates to create even more energy, energy that it can store, energy that it can use for the next day. Picture this. At the start of the day, the trucks have gone out to go about their business. They sell wonderfully created meals. They empower both genders. They create communities of good, give pizza slices to other people, all while spurring local talent. But what if you could take this a step further? What if, as the trucks returned, the container that they're attached to comes to life? This is what I believe is the future of the agricultural industry. The inside of this is run by a company called Freight Farms, and this is their technology. And the magic behind this is that in a space that's 320 square feet, it has the same yield as land of over 2 acres. And for me, that's unbelievable. I mean, containers are stackable. They can be transported. And the best part about them is that they leave no permanent footprint. something that is increasingly becoming a cause for concern in any industry and all aspects of infrastructure. Now, when I think about water, I think a lot about Singapore and places like California, where often water is a concern. I mean, there are times in California where you're not allowed to water your lawn because of the environmental impacts of that. And now imagine all of these amazing things that I've said, using 40 liters of water a day. That is the magic of micro-drip technology. And to put that into a bit of perspective, approximately, a 5 to 6 minute shower approximately uses about the same amount of water. And this was shown by a study conducted by the United States Geological Survey. So with a 5-minute shower, you could plant 2 acres worth of farmland. Just think about that. Now, if you recall, one thing that I said earlier was that my necessities are water, healthcare, shelter, and food. But I want to make a slight alteration. The 3 of those are fine. But I think for me, personally, a necessity is good food that is consciously created and actually supports a lot of people. Now I get it. I really do understand that for many people out there, the idea of getting good food is secondary. They just need food on the table to make sure that they get through the next day. And I understand that it can be a very big challenge. But I think that my food truck has the ability to not only revolutionize and change the future of a growing billion-dollar industry, it also has the ability to support these individuals and create the communities of good that can provide them with food and with some sort of stability regarding their food security. The simple food truck I mentioned earlier, the very basic restaurant on wheels. But now think about it. With a little bit of innovation, it has the ability to empower gender. It has the ability to be sustainable, maintain corporate social responsibility, generate a profit for the people that work tirelessly to set it up, promote and be the reason for change in all sorts of communities. And all of this while serving some wonderful food, something that I know excites every single person. This is the reason that I believe that my food truck is definitely an idea worth spreading. Thank you.